Careful with you. I just hope
like this thing, we have a certain distance. There's like, it's that's also a time. It's all set out. People don't understand. We have to give them a speed. People don't understand. We're getting yeah.
ready? Make your songs.
You think Steve will look on my side or come down here and I give my hands for
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
In attendance tonight are Supervisors Fraser, Ross, Beaufort, myself, Stephanie Garna. Please note Dan Resnick is not in attendance.
Your comments from the public.
Yes, two people signed up. First is Mr. Stoner.
Woody Stoner, Rockland Township resident. I have two things I'd like to talk about very quickly in the time. And I'm sorry Mr. Resnick is not here. I really had a question directed to him, but I'll kind of reword it and work it for the rest of the supervisors. Because hopefully you've benefited from some of this expense. The best that I can tell with limited information is that Chairman Resnick engaged the police commission solicitor and the township solicitor at least 4 times in January for what appears to be a desire to make public meetings less public. For one example, on January 2nd, he called Attorney Hudak to have him, quote, research issues regarding comment period, Sunshine Act, representative taxpayer or resident, as well as the issue of closed meeting because of disruptions. I was going to ask Mr. Resnick what did he learn from that and glean from that? We spent hundreds of dollars for him to get that information, and I'd like to hear what he learned. My question, since he's not here, is to the rest of the supervisors. Did you get any feedback about that? Did you gain any information from those expenses? The other thing is Chairman Ross, I'm sorry, I'm sounding like a broken record, but I find a couple of your recent statements very perplexing. Regarding the costs that taxpayers will bear for your lawsuit against the police department, you repeatedly stated at the February 11th supervisors meeting that all costs will be covered by insurance. Then at the February 25th supervisors meeting, you told Mr. Hefner that your lawsuit is the same as if you were to fight a parking ticket. Now, we have a $15,000 deductible. So far, between the police commission and the township, the taxpayers have incurred over $6,000. So I can only come to one of 2 conclusions, none of which, that you're either terribly naive to make those statements or you're untruthful. Neither is an acceptable trait in a supervisor. Thank you.
Christiana Schau.
Did it in the last meeting, but I'm just going to piggyback off of what Mr. Stoner said. I don't think the residents of this valley, and that includes the borough, and I realize this is a
township meeting, but the residents of the borough are aware of the cost that we are incurring from that lawsuit, nor the cost from the injunction that happened from this board to the police commission. That bill is about $8,000. That is taxpayer dollars. I asked in the audience last time, I'm like, how do I say, no, I don't want to pay any part of that. I want a piece of that. I want my money back. As a township resident, I don't want to pay for things that look like waste and abuse of our taxpayer dollars. And I will use those words, waste and abuse of our dollars. So we have that. And I don't begrudge Trish any kind of money or promotion or anything like that, but you took Stephanie off the board. That cost is going to come to what, $6,000 a year roughly? Also something that I don't want to have to pay for. So we're now at, what, let's do fast math, let's say $20,000 of costs that we should not have incurred as taxpayers. So I don't know, Mr. Ross, if you have any response to the lawsuit, because that stuff is ridiculous. And we talk about transparency. That is a word that you and Mr. Resnick throw around all the time. We need to be transparent. Look at the money we're spending, and I guarantee the residents of this valley do not know.
That was everybody who signed up.
All right, comments of the supervisors. Mr. Bufford.
Well, I guess we should answer something about that, those lawsuits and the money that was spent. And I think the borough is actually paying 30% of any of that, and the township pays approximately 70%. In the lawsuit that we filed, the township filed against the police commission, I think there was a couple of supervisors that actually voted against that and said, why can't we just sit down and talk about it? Grown up to grown up, we filed the suit. Cost, what, $6,000 to $8,000? That doesn't make sense. All said about that. Police report that came in, you know, it's really amazing the amount of calls that are going. The fire companies in the last month getting calls. Last night they had a young boy that was lost in the woods up by Lynn Run. Fire companies get called, state police get called. I take it the fire police were called.
It was our case.
Where'd they find him? In his house.
Underneath a big blanket with a dog sitting on top.
Yeah.
He was sleeping.
But all the fire companies get called. I mean, the public got to know about all that stuff that's going on. The police going out, and that wasn't the only call. You know, it's just amazing the amount of people that get called to this kind of stuff. Alarm systems. Gotta thank all of us. That's all I have.
I'll just echo John's comments regarding the fire companies. I mean, since I've been in this position, my awareness of that, do you know what I mean, it's certainly been heightened. That whistle blows all the time. Do you know what I mean? You hear people responding, like, these are volunteers that are responding. The amount of time that some of them put in is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around, I'll be honest with you. So I have a tremendous amount of appreciation to all of them. They're always here to respond to us, but kind of in this situation, like, we also all need to take some personal responsibility and be cautious. You know, slow down on the roads, be a little bit more patient, you know what I mean, think twice, you know what I mean, try to mitigate as many risks as possible, is all that I would say. But yeah, I really want to acknowledge those volunteers. I think it's pretty unheard of. It's something that we really need to keep in mind, especially as we lose more volunteers. So that was all.
No comment.
No comment? I have no comment at this time. Can I get approval? There's actually going to be 3 approvals, right?
Yeah, correct. The last big meeting and then the conditional use hearing is technically 2 meetings.
Okay. I get approval of minutes from the April 22nd board meeting.
I will make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
One second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I get approval of the minutes from April 29th public hearing meeting.
I will make that motion.
And I'll second it since we're going to do that.
Um, All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll also move the approval of
Please,
the second set of minutes.
board meeting. Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
John, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Correspondence, Mr. Strellick.
Yeah, only one item, which has been on correspondence before, but we finally have our larger audit of the 2023 liquid fuel tax fund. A whole lot of boring stuff, so if you just want to skip to the good stuff, it's on page 6. There are no adjustments, which is nice because we had multiple hands in the pot putting together the audit here. And we have a significant fund balance at the moment. 105,000, which is great, but get used to it because, we'll be using it. Unless there's any questions on liquid fuels details. All right, managers report, since we last met, dumpster day happened, very popular event. We had, by my count, 86 cars and trucks and brought in exactly $1,068, both of which are highs since at least before COVID. The old timers tell me there used to be mines down the road. It still operates at a significant loss. The final bills aren't in yet because we won't take the tires till the end of the summer when we have more tires to bring. But I figure it's going to cost us about $3,800. So, but it is a very popular event. As I'm sure everybody has noticed on their own yards, spring has sprung and grass and bushes are growing wild. Our guys are out on the roads, beating back the brush and keeping our roads open. Now they do their best, and they have a lot of experience at this, but we are not professional landscapers. So the goal of this is not to make people's yards look nice. It's to keep the roads open, keep the right-of-ways clear, keep sight lines clean. So if you hear that we took out grandma's rose bushes, it's possible that's true. Because if the rose bushes are in the way of seeing around the corner, we're going to take them out. And something that comes back from time to time, and we'll be back again shortly. The Ligonier Beach consultants, Mackin, met with high school and middle school students, I believe recently. They filled out over 300 surveys, which is great. The public meeting that everybody's invited to hasn't been scheduled yet. Well, it's mostly been scheduled. We have everything but the final sign-off from the school districts and sort of borrowing their auditorium. But you could probably pencil in that it may be June 18th. Again, not confirmed, so things could change. That's coming shortly. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Solicitor report.
I've been working on a couple code complaints. The beard matter is in discovery right now. We have to respond to their discovery requests. Rick and Michael gave me information. I'm working on those. The other one that you authorized to file, I'm working on that one. I forget the name right now. Is it Myers?
It's a Blue Door Rental.
Okay.
Yeah, fire zone, yes.
Working on that complaint. As you saw here from the approval of the minutes, that we had a hearing on April 29th for the conditional use amendment, I guess, to the one condition. Under the municipality's planning code, we have to file or issue a written decision with findings of fact and conclusions of law within 45 days. I drafted that.
Got the last
circulated. Okay, so we'll get that out the door and finish our responsibility there, although we've already let them know that it's been approved. I imagine it's going to happen this Saturday, so that part is done. And then next week, Michael may get into it, we have the Planning Commission where there is a request for some rezoning of an area, but I'm going to attend that at Michael's request, and I think I should. We're going to discuss the applicant's request for some rezoning, and that'll come to you guys after their recommendation one way or another.
Okay.
So that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hudak? Police report, Chief Matrix.
There were 539 complaints entered in the system. There were 14 arrests, 42 traffic citations. Of that, 319 were in Township, 156 was Borough, Laurel Mountain had 64. Of all those calls, 414 generally went in and out through 911. Community events conducted a mock crash for the Ligonier Valley Prom 2025. It was organized by the SAD and the school resource officer. I sort of want to say thank you for all the firemen, as, you know, to reiterate what you guys are there, for their time they volunteered to go and conduct this mock action for us, just to show and try to teach these kids of decision-making, distracted driving, and those issues. We had the DUI Association come out and do a speech. I want to say thank you to Matt Ferry for providing cars and donating his time for this cause. Sergeant Friscarella conducted a canine demonstration that spoke to the preschool kids at Ligonier Valley Learning Center. Kids were great. I was up there watching, and they just absolutely were having a great time with Keelan. We're working on our SRO contract. Fast car units were all installed in the cars. Thank goodness we didn't have many repairs on cars this month, so that cost was down. A couple other things. So we did some more training. Hall attended more additional stuff for his accident reconstruction, data recorder technician, and forensic evidence. All part of his accident reconstruction to bring that whole big circle around to complete that whole accident investigation team. The admin assistant, Trisha Best, attended Grants 101. Actually, Beverly both went to that, correct, Beverly? How was that class? Good?
It's very good.
Good. Hopefully we can gain from some of that knowledge and, reach out to more of these grants. Sergeant Friscarella, Barber, and Hall attended VASCAR training, so they're going to be our internal instructors. Nepper attended a 3-week drug recognition expert. This was a very difficult, high-end class where he is now an expert for testimony in identifying someone who may be high, intoxicated, and so forth, or multiples, where he can actually determine what someone may be on, as far as Oxycontin, you name it. He can figure that out just by doing evaluations on an individual for a lot of good reasons. Maybe use it for the school with kids, someone we're dealing with, especially DUIs. We're dealing with more driving under the influence with drugs anymore than we are with alcohol. It seems like that's very large out there now. It looks like, as you can read the papers, they're going to be legalizing maybe the marijuana, something we're dealing with. We need different ways to detect these drugs. He now is farther into that, and there's not many across the state. In this region, we've had to call people from Pittsburgh to assist us in our investigations. Now we don't have to do that. We can actually call in and have our armed officer handle that here locally. SWAT, D'Orazio attended the search warrant and arrest warrants in local communities. He also now certified pistol rifle, and he's also certified in less lethal tear gas and bead medic. So he continues with his training. So if anyone out there wishing to donate to any of that, we'd like to put a little nest egg back for him to be able to, for qualification rounds and any items he may need throughout his training. So that's out there, so we can, if there's anyone willing to donate, that'd be great to see that fund grow. But thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Introduce. Next, we have the Community Development Committee report with Supervisor Verna and Booth.
So we just wanted to give an update on the multimodal transportation grant that we were awarded from the state earlier this year. John and I went, and Michael was with us as well. We presented this at the school board's committee of the whole meeting. We just wanted to review this with the board. Michael's going to be needing to accept this grant.
Yes, we signed yesterday.
Okay, we did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Me and Beverly both signed.
Okay. So I was looking, I got concerned about the approved signatures and all that jazz too. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So just as a quick overview for everybody, because this kind of happened without all the fanfare. There's a lot going on right now, and didn't want to lose sight of it. So we're talking about a bridge that connects the high school essentially to the borough. So if anybody here is familiar with the area, kids that walk to school come out of the back of the high school. There's also bus traffic that goes through there, and I have noticed, personal observation, some of the most dangerous drivers are not the students, but the parents that are late for work, dropping their kids off. Certain times of year, it's incredibly dark back there. It's very dangerous. the school zone ends right as you approach the bridge. So the school zone, we send children out the back of the high school to head into the borough, and then we send them across a narrow bridge where there is no room for anyone to walk. There's barely room for 2 cars to cross. We had applied for this grant, and it's like I said, it's a bridge over Mill Creek along Harry School Road. It also includes the sidewalks along Harry School Road and West Vincent Street. This project is involved pretty extensive intermunicipal collaboration, as I mentioned. This is really us connecting the school and the borough. So we work with the borough and the school, who both were very much in support of this project. We were awarded $586,000. The initial budget for the project was $1.2 million. So we're working with our engineer to understand where can we have potential opportunities for cost savings. And now is sort of the time for us to identify other funding sources, whether that's through foundations or other grant programs that we could apply here. And why it matters, the big drive for this, the main drive is safety. As I mentioned, there's a lot of traffic. This is student traffic. It's dark. It connects a lot of resources that we've invested in already. We have the school. There's tremendous investment in the borough between the YMCA, our libraries, also the township's walking trail to some extent. You know what I mean? This is an extension of that as well. We continue to try to encourage people to get outside and get healthy. The easiest thing and the least expensive thing to do is strap some shoes on your feet and go take a walk. And I think we're very fortunate to have the trails and the sidewalks in the community to make that super accessible. So this is, a little bit of an expansion onto this. And it fell right within the parameters of this grant that was really moved toward achieving all of these goals. That's just a visual. It's a little bit hard to tell, but if you kind of start at 1, just so you can kind of see that's coming out of the back of the school, where you see the number 2 arrow, that's where that bridge is. And this would be a pedestrian bridge sort of to the side of that. And then it connects all the way up to where Walnut Street is, where it would cross over a sidewalk and connect into the other existing sidewalks. There's a few residents along Vincent Street that could potentially, their front yards would be impacted. Very surprisingly, when we met in the borough, we only had 1 resident show up, and they showed up in support of the project and asked how much it was going to cost them. Those residents also acknowledging kind of the stress of just living there and the pedestrian traffic, especially with students. So it was nice to see that level of support, especially from some residents that could potentially be pretty impacted. Those are just a couple pictures out of the back. It's kind of hard to see, but just to kind of give you an understanding of how narrow that is, and there's not really a lot of space there. And then the next, if you want to go to the next one, just to kind of close out on it. This is just an example of this is the bridge down along the existing walking trail. Our engineering firms trying to think of ways to reduce costs. As you can imagine, permitting can be one of the most expensive costs. This type of approach keeps us sort of out of the water a bit, so to alleviate some of that. So you can imagine it landing on either side of the banks and stretching over. So I just wanted to give that update to the rest of the board to make sure everybody was aware. I understand that right now with elections, we have a lot of the folks in the borough and the school board a little bit preoccupied, but the goal here would be, as the next phase, is to really get with them, to work together, all 3 entities working together to go out to find the remaining funding necessary for the project. We do have until June 30th of 2028 to complete this work, so we do have a little bit of time. But knowing these projects do take a bit of time, so we don't want to necessarily, lag here in the beginning.
Stephanie,
Yes, sir.
quick question. Where you come across the bridge, are you going to follow the road then up to the back entrance?
So me as the school?
Yeah.
So the initial sketch actually showed it coming up sort of, where there's that hill and right onto the school property as one option.
Right.
When we met with the school, one of the other options that people talked about was even the potential to even cut the hillside back and put the sidewalk straight along the street.
Okay.
I think those are kind of some of those final, those final decisions to look at cost. A component of this, where that hillside is, there's some telephone poles there. So we would also, as part of this, potentially work with the electric company as well to see if we could add some lighting there as well as part of that project. So I think all of this is going to come down to really understanding where a lot of the utilities are, what needs to be moved, what can and can't be moved. But the school in the initial sketch seemed open to really where, right where that kind of, where the school property begins, to kind of pull that sidewalk in and then have that come up along their property. You know what I mean? On the, sort of like on their side of that hillside, as opposed to trying to squeeze it in.
Right. I think there could be some nice alternatives, might complement nice work.
Thank you.
I mean, this project is really about safety for the kids and the traffic. That's what we're going with this. A lot of money, but there's a lot of traffic on that road.
Yeah, it really is.
And I also think it's a great opportunity also. I mean, this is some nice infrastructure, it's some nice funding, coming in from the state to this area. And I do think it does also help us connect a lot of resources, whether the school expands with a baseball park or anything else, the high school is there right now, that is a main, hub for a lot of different activities and events. And so again, just kind of keeping that safe. We've also seen that even just with Country Market and the other events here in town, we're a tourist destination. Traffic is becoming, more and more congested in the borough. So I also think this provides another outlet to provide a safe space there. But that was the main driver of this, was really around that safety. That's a pretty tricky section of road to kind of cross. So I think we've been fortunate to not have had any accidents or incidents today. So then, does anybody have any other questions for us on that? So John and I will continue to work with Ben on this and work with the borough and the school board after the election. And once people have a little bit more time to focus on this and start working on identifying some other sources of funding.
Amazing job.
Thank you.
The two of you, amazing job.
And thanks to Bethany, because she's the one that I said we need street lights back there, and she said let's go a step further, and she found these grants for us. So this has been an effort for a little while. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Vernon, for working on that. It's a very exciting project. Treasurer's report.
Sure. In your packet, you have the treasurer's report. This is our standard format. Beverly has our past month. So just to go over our balances for the end of April, the general fund is at $512,791. The general fund reserve is at $1,338,874. Liquid fuels has $511,104. The capital fund reserve is at $47,172. The Ligonier Beach Park Fund has $82,553, and our developers fund has $69,348 with a total fund balance of $2,561,841. Just a little bit down from where we were last month. On the back, you have a detail of where we have our reserves invested and what is coming up for expiration. We have 2 coming up in May. Did you get quotes on what you have available?
Ligonier right now, their terms are about 4.3%, higher or lower depending on the length of the term. I have not reached out to Jamie yet, but they're usually like a 1/100% better.
And what type of term are these?
I'd like to keep them staggered, just so we're never locked into, oh no, we can't get our money.
So what does that mean, a 6 and a 12 month or a 12 and an 18?
Fitting it into our existing rather than, maybe next spring. Something between December of 25 and June of 26.
Okay.
but I'm certainly willing to hear other opinions.
Can you bring back some options for the next meeting?
Yes, at the next meeting, again, I haven't done the paperwork and math yet, but we may be able to transfer some from our general fund to